Hi, welcome to God Stories episode 12. I'm Dr. Debbie Reynolds with Veterinary Home Health Care, and I wanted to share with you guys something that happened last week, and it was something that is a fairly common occurrence. So I wanted to share it with you guys so that you can, if this has happened to you, have some reassurance. So I went on a house call for one of my senior patients who's on up there in years, and for a swelling on their face, which a lot of times dogs will get a little swelling right here. Tooth root abscess is a very common thing. That's what we thought we were probably going to go see. And when I got there and looked inside their mouth, my heart kind of sunk because there was a mass there. And that is something we see occasionally in older dogs. The owners don't usually notice it because it's underneath the tongue. Or it's way back inside here. You don't notice it until it's grown enough that it's kind of showing or pushing things out of the way. I mean, you don't look under your dog's tongue or back in their jaw. That's not something you normally do, especially in a smaller dog. Like if you've got a big dog that's yawning or something, you might see that. But in a little dog with that crowded mouth, you just don't see that. So the reaction that my client had is a common reaction of feeling terrible. She's thinking, did I cause this? What could I have done? I wish I'd have called you sooner. Feeling really bad about everything. And that's a very common reaction. And I want to reassure you that you can't cause cancer in your dog. You don't have the expertise to look under their tongues and to watch for things like that. There's nothing you can do to create a mass in your dog. That's not your fault. It's just something that occurs. Some breeds are predisposed to cancer and they get it, and sometimes they just get it. It's just like any any case of cancer. Why does anyone get cancer? Especially dogs. I mean, they don't have lifestyles that cause cancer. They just get it. There's no rhyme or reason. A lot of times in vet med, we say cancer does what it does and it can do anything it wants. It doesn't follow any of the medical textbooks and there's no rules. So you can't cause cancer in your dogs. You couldn't have done anything to change it, to make it different. And often you don't notice it. I mean, no one does. It's not something that you should feel bad about. So if anybody's gone through that, I want to reassure you that it's not your fault. You couldn't have done anything. You couldn't have changed it. And in this case, it was a pretty big mass, and I would love it if y'all would pray for this little family. They've been through a lot lately, and we did end up I sent her to a surgeon to look at it, and it was beyond repair. We even discussed removing the jaw, part of the jaw, but it was too extensive, and she did the right thing. It was going to be really difficult on the patient, and to not get a lot of extra time, and it would be a lot to put the patient through. So a really stressful whirlwind. And we took time to pray and ask for wisdom. And I immediately, when I saw the patient, I went back into the car. I mean, everyone's always, their first thing is, I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to suffer. And I went back into the car and I prayed for wisdom, because in James 1:5, it says, if we ask for wisdom, God will give it. And I didn't sleep well that night. I kept hearing her words echo, I don't want him to suffer. And then thinking about that surgery, would it be worth it? I called the veterinarian doing the surgery the next morning. We talked about it extensively. She was there for the surgery. There were a lot of what ifs that went into play. X-rays, blood work, having her there, questions that might need to be answered as the surgery progressed and we went, under anesthesia. And it turned out that it would not be worth it. The suffering would be too much. So that's what we did. So I would love it if y'all would keep her and her family in your prayers. And most of all, this reaction is so common. I just wanted to come on here and say that you can't do that to your dog. I don't want you to have guilt and bad feelings about things that are out of your control. When you take care of your dog like she does, and you've done everything possible in amazing preventive care, sometimes cancer just happens. So please don't have guilty feelings and feel negligent when all you've done is love your dog and take good care of them. So that is our God story for this week, and I hope it helps you in some way, and thank you so much for listening.